are blessed to be sharing our planet with an incredible diversity of animal species. Let us not forget that they have as much right to their homes as we do. That we need to appreciate these species and coexist with them peacefully and harmoniously.
Hey Chotu, what are you sniffling so hard at on the plant? Ayo, it's a snail, Chotu. And how amazing! A flat worm-like creature's eating the snail.
That worm-like creature, dear Kunti, is a glowworm.
क्या बात है? Glowworms eat snails? And snails, of course, eat plants. I wonder how they bite the plants. Do they have teeth?
They have a razor-like tongue with thousands of tiny teeth. So you see, the snail and glowworm are part of a food web.
The snail is herbivorous. I see them eating up a lot of Pitaji's plants, especially during the rains. And the glowworm is carnivorous. Look! Chotu's attention has got diverted to that crow eating a dead rat.
Chotu, you get your chicken to eat every day. That dead rat is not meant for you.
Dadaji, crows like to eat dead rats, but I have seen them chasing dragonflies and also eating grapes, which Ma puts for them on the kitchen windowsill sometimes. Does that mean that crows are scavengers as well as herbivores and carnivores?
Crows are scavengers as well as omnivores, as they eat both plants and other small animals.
Dadaji, can you lead me through the world of animals with your stories, just like you did for plants? I find your stories so interesting. Please, Dadaji.
How can I ever refuse my Kunti? If you want to enter the world of animals, I shall have to take you all over, as animals are found in every possible habitat.
Dadaji decides to take Kunti through his stories into the different homes of animals. Inside the oceans, where you find fish, mammals, reptiles and crustaceans. In grasslands, where live certain birds and mammals like the floricans, great Indian bustards, the rhinoceros and cheetahs. In dense jungles, where live the tigers, mongooses and elephants. Just as he is about to begin, Kunti reminds him,
Dadaji, don't forget to tell me the stories of animals that live in treetops and caves too.
Yes. Monkeys, gibbons, squirrels prefer treetops. Bats prefer caves. So many creatures like the earthworms and the honey badger prefer to live underground. Even the air. Some birds, like the common swift, spend nearly all their lives in the air. But let us start at the very beginning. The very first animals to appear on our planet were the invertebrates. Animals without backbones or vertebral columns.
Like that snail and glowworm we just saw?
Yes, and many more. They first appeared in the oceans. Even today, we have sea creatures like jellyfish, octopus, crabs, sea stars. In fact, invertebrates make up 98% of the entire animal kingdom.
Dadaji goes on to tell Kunti about a very unusual, humongous invertebrate.
One of the sea giants is an invertebrate, the colossal squid. It is as much as 40 feet long and has been known to drown ships with its enormous tentacles.
Wow! What happened after that?
Next, the higher animals with vertebral columns like fish appeared in the oceans. By and by, some animals that could live on land but need water or a moist environment, called the amphibians, evolved.
Like frogs and toads?
And salamanders and Sicilians.
Oh, yes. The eggs of the frogs and toads hatch into tadpoles. I have seen them in the pond on my way to school. They look so much like fish with their broad tails. After some time, they start growing legs just like the adult frogs and toads.
Yes, these sudden transformations in an animal's life, when they look very different and behave very differently at each stage, is called metamorphosis.
Dadaji, doesn't a butterfly too undergo metamorphosis? The caterpillar looks and behaves so differently from the adult butterfly or moth.
Bilkul sahi.
After the amphibians, did the other land animals come along? Like the reptiles, the birds, and finally mammals?
But insects and other arthropods like scorpions or spiders were already there on land even before the reptiles.
Dadaji, how are these different animals adapted to live in their different homes?
Good question. Let us begin with life in the oceans. Fish and even mammals like whales and dolphins have a streamlined body so that they can cut through the water easily while swimming and don't have to spend energy overcoming friction by the water.
And how do they breathe?
Fish have gills that can absorb oxygen from the water and pass it into their bloodstream.
What about mammals and reptiles?
Mammals and reptiles like whales and turtles have to come up to the surface from time to time to breathe air above the water as they breathe through lungs just like us.
But why do whales and dolphins spray water in the air?
They have blowholes on the top of their heads, which are actually their nostrils for breathing in air when they surface. But first they exhale by breathing out from their lungs. While doing so, the water above their blowholes gets sprayed upwards.
What about birds? How do they manage to fly so high and for such long distances?
Birds have feathers, one of nature's most unique creations, made of a protein called keratin.
Dadaji goes on to explain that feathers are extremely light and flexible, and that is what helps them to fly. Their tail feathers act like rudders, helping to change direction during flight. In addition, they have hollow, air-filled bones to lessen their weight.
And so, all these adaptations enable some birds to migrate for long distances.
Look at Chotu. He's got hold of a bird's feather and is shaking it vigorously. But why do birds need to migrate, Dadaji?
Birds in the far north migrate every winter to southern countries to escape the extreme cold. There are some birds that fly huge distances, guided by the position of the sun in the day or by the stars at night. As for the Arctic tern, it migrates the longest distance right across the globe, from the North Pole to the South Pole during winter when the climate is unbearable and food is scarce. And back again from the South Pole to the North Pole during summer.
Which birds migrate to India, Dadaji?
Plenty. The Amur falcon is a visitor around October. They stop over at Nagaland on their way from Siberia to Africa to rest and energize themselves by feeding on dragonflies that are found in plenty during this time.
They must be so hungry.
Then the bar-headed geese, the highest flying birds, migrate to the Himalayas in the winter.
Do they keep honking when they fly?
Yes, and the pied-crested cuckoos migrate over the Arabian Sea, flying along with the southwest monsoon winds from Africa to our western coast in June to nest. In fact, they are considered as the harbingers of the monsoon.
Wow! What about the flamingos that come to Mumbai, Dadaji? Where do they come from?
Oh, yes! Thousands of these bright pink birds with their long legs migrate from Kutch, their breeding ground, to the mudflats of Mumbai for feeding.
Don't other animals also migrate?
Yes, they do. Butterflies and fish also migrate. But the biggest migration of all is in the savannas of Africa.
And he tells Kunti about the wildebeest, who in their thousands, accompanied by zebra, migrate each year in September from Masai Mara to Serengeti, which offers better feeding grounds, and then back to Masai Mara in March when the grass has revived there.
What about reptiles, Dadaji? What is their story?
Aha! Reptiles, turtles, tortoises, crocodiles, snakes, lizards all have scales covering them to protect them from predators. Unlike the birds who are warm-blooded like us, reptiles are cold-blooded.
But sometimes I find my hands turning very cold. I am an exception. I must be cold-blooded.
My dear Kunti, warm-blooded means the temperature of your body will always be the same, whether it is cold or hot outside. Cold-blooded animals are those whose temperatures vary with the surroundings.
Master Ji told us that turtles and crocodiles live in water, but they come to land to lay their eggs.
Very true. It is amazing how turtles swim across miles of ocean and come back to the same beach year after year to lay their eggs.
How do they find their way?
They have a natural compass, magnetic particles in their brain which detect the Earth's magnetism. That is how they find their way.
And where do crocodiles lay their eggs? On riverbanks?
They make nest mounds along the river banks. The mother crocodile guards her eggs very zealously. No one dare come close to her precious nest. And when the babies hatch, she carries them very gently in her mouth to the water.
What about snakes, Dadaji?
Snakes too lay eggs, but not in nests. There is one exception though. The king cobra is the only snake who makes a nest of dried leaves. She even looks after the eggs until they are hatched.
What's the matter, Chotu? Why are you looking up at the tree and barking? Oh, there is a monkey. Just watch him leaping from branch to branch with his long tail following him.
The long tail actually helps the monkey to maintain his balance while jumping and leaping. Most arboreal animals have long tails for balance.
Look, a whole lot of other monkeys have suddenly appeared. There are some babies clinging onto their mother's fur. One of them looks like quite a bully. He is screaming at the others and they are hastily moving out of his way.
This must be the entire troop. Monkeys always live in large troops, and all the females in the troop, mothers, aunts, sisters, take turns to look after their babies. The big bully is the alpha male, who is the leader of the troop. Can you think of any other mammals who are arboreal and live on treetops?
Squirrels, koala bears, panda bears, And bats?
Shabash! Many bats, especially insectivorous bats, live in caves. But the fruit-eating bats live on treetops. They help to pollinate flowers and also disperse the seeds of the fruits they eat.
But Dadaji, how do bats manage to fly even though they do not have feathers?
Bats are the only mammals that exhibit true flight. The flight membrane that is stretched over their elongated arm and hand bones serves as a wing.
Remember when we went to visit Govind Mama? There was a very tall shirish tree full of bats hanging upside down. And later, when we left his house, we saw them all flying to the alm trees to enjoy their evening meal of mangoes.
I would like to tell you about another mammal that lives on treetops in the forests of Assam, the Hulok gibbons. Every morning, they announce sunrise by howling very loudly. It is like an alarm call to the farmers to wake up and go to their fields. The name Hulok was borrowed from the Assamese word hulo, meaning loud calls.
Are the Hulok gibbons monkeys?
They are not monkeys. They are the only apes found in India. They leap from branch to branch using their strong arms. In fact, through the years, their arms have become so long, if they were to walk on their legs, their hands would scrape against the ground.
What about mammals in the desert, Dadaji? What is their story?
Aha! The camels. They are called the ship of the desert, as many years ago, riding on camelback was the only mode of transport over the miles of hot sand dunes. Also, they can carry very heavy loads without getting tired.
Our Masterji has told us how nature has ensured that camels are very well adapted to the harsh conditions of the desert.
Let's see. Can you tell me 5 ways the camel is adapted to life in the desert?
Oh, yes. They store fat in their humps, which help them to go without food over long periods. They can also manage without water for days on end, as they can drink up to 40 gallons at one go. Their rough tongues and lips help them forage on thorny desert plants also. They have 3 sets of eyelids and 2 rows of eyelashes to keep out the sand. During the sandstorms, they can even shut their nostrils completely.
Shabash!
Dadaji, we have been talking about mammals in different habitats. But can you tell me the most common features for all mammals?
My clever Kunti is testing me, huh? Mammals have hair or fur covering their body, except the pangolin, which has scales, and the porcupine, which has long spines.
And Dadaji goes on to tell Kunti how all mammals have specialized teeth depending on their diet. Canine teeth to tear flesh, molar teeth to crush and grind grass, incisors to nibble, gnaw and cut woody stems. Female mammals suckle their young ones with their own milk, and all mammals give birth directly to their young ones except the duck-billed platypus of Australia, which lays eggs.
Did you hear that, Chotu? We were talking about what is common between you and me. We are both mammals. Yes, I know you were listening. I can see you wagging your tail. Dadaji, you have told me so many stories about animals. But all over the world, people are getting worried about the effects of global warming and climate change. How is that affecting animals?
Indeed, we should all do our little bit to reverse climate change. So many species of animals are going extinct because of human activities bringing about climate change.
Can you tell me about some animals that are being strongly affected by climate change, Dadaji?
Look at the polar bear in the Arctic who needs sea ice to walk on to hunt for its prey, the seals. But global warming is preventing any sea ice from forming. As a result, the poor polar bear is starving.
I wish the polar bear could learn how to hunt in a different way.
The beautiful coral reefs in our oceans too are being affected by global warming. In the warmer ocean temperature, the colorful algae living inside the corals get expelled. Without the vivid colors imparted to the corals by the algae, the corals appear a ghostly white, as if they are bleached.
Oh no!
Yes, and this triggers a chain reaction.
What chain reaction, you may wonder? The sea anemones that live amongst the corals also die once the coral gets bleached. Without the sea anemones to protect them with their stinging cells, the clownfish that live amongst their stinging tentacles are prone to being attacked by predators.
This reminds me of the sweater Dadi is knitting for me. She has to be careful that none of the stitches get dropped accidentally. If one stitch were to get dropped, the next stitch would get affected, and the stitch after that. It would continue until the whole sweater would fall apart.
Very well put, dear Kunti. All of nature is like an interconnected tapestry or knitted sweater. If even one thread is pulled out, all the rest of it can collapse.
And he tells of yet another story of global warming affecting species. The sex of a turtle on hatching depends on the temperature the egg has been exposed to. Cooler temperatures produce males, while warmer temperatures produce females. If our planet keeps getting warmer, then only female turtles will be born, affecting their entire population.
Dadaji, your stories have made me determined to fight climate change. I shall begin with making posters and putting them up everywhere possible.
And so, here are some of the posters that Kunti made with Dadaji's help. Be kind to the animals around you. You can begin by leaving a bowl of water for birds and strays during summer. Plant nectar and host plants for butterflies in pots or in the garden to help the local butterfly population, like curry leaves, lemon, miracle plant, which is Bryophyllum, lantana, Jamaican blue spike, peacock flower, and pentas. Please do not use harsh pesticides. They can kill all useful insects too. Reducing global warming can help reverse climate change. Please use bicycles or walk instead of cars whenever possible. Help burn less fossil fuels. Global warming, we want no more. Species to thrive, we all long for. Clear skies, pure seas, green earth. Oh, isn't it all lovely? Lovely, lovely.